Today, I'm going to be talking about the Driftwood Line 200 and 300 pipeline that was just approved yesterday by FERC. I'm going to talk about just a little bit about what it is and a bit of speculation about why it's important for Tellurian, since the company has not really said too much about it. Before I begin, let me remind you that I'm not a financial advisor or a financial professional of any sort. All opinions I express in this video are mine and do not represent those of any company or any other individual. I currently hold a long position in Tellurian, so this video should be for your entertainment purposes only, because I could be wrong about everything I say in this video. You need to do your own research before making any investment decisions. Sorry, my phone going off. All right, so the Driftwood Line 200 and 300 pipeline. What is it? So this was approved yesterday by the FERC, the Federal Energy Regulation Commission. And this is a pipeline, actually two pipelines, very, very close. Hi, transient stacker. Thanks for hopping on the stream. So there's a pipeline that is bringing natural gas down to, effectively the Lake Cameron area where the Driftwood LNG facility is being built. And, that's basically right here. And this is not to be confused with the Driftwood pipeline, which is different. So this is the Driftwood pipeline. Hopefully you can see a tiny bit of the difference between these maps here. The Driftwood pipeline ends at the same place down here where the Driftwood LNG terminal is, but it sources the gas or the route of the gases starts all the way up here, sort of, more northeastward, or much more east than the north here. And you can see if I go back to the Driftwood Line 200, 300, it's much more north. It is a tad bit east, but it goes, more of just a northward trajectory there. And so the difference here is really in where they are sourcing the gas and the optionality, the places where they have these different, the different interconnects. I'm not sure what the right word is. Sorry, I'm not in the industry. But there's a couple places, and they're listed out in some of the FERC documents as all the places where they connect with these other pipelines or other places where they could potentially source gas from in the future. So why is this important to Tellurian if it's not the Driftwood pipeline, right? Because the Driftwood pipeline, just going back on this one, is sufficient to supply Driftwood with gas, about 3.5 BCF per day, and that comes out to roughly the full capacity of Driftwood, not even just for phase one, for the whole Driftwood terminal. So what's the point of this line 200 and 300? And I will give you the one caveat here where I'm not in the industry. I'm not 100% sure with what I'm saying, but this is my understanding. The company hasn't really said too much about it, but I believe this is all for diversification. And there is a tiny bit about this in the actual FERC order if you want to read through it. They talk about this on, let me scroll down a bit. I think the page, I have some notes here, page 11. You talk about what is the need for this. So Driftwood actually did a whole market study that was proposed and given to them. Let me find where it says market study here. And it talks about, there is, as it says here, adequate supply right now. This, they're going to hit constraints in the Lake Charles area in the future. And this also gives some optionality. Somewhere down here, it also talks about having resiliency and redundancy in supply. So it gives additional supply options and enhances the diversity, the resilience, and the reliability of its supply. So my understanding of reading through the lines here, what they are going to use this for is getting the cheapest gas, right? This is multiple places where they can get their feed gas from, right? They can get it from over here through the Driftwood pipeline or any of the places where this connects. They can get it from over here through this pipeline. This gives them the option to find where the cheapest gas is, make deals and get that gas so that they can make those spreads as wide as possible and, make lots of profits for us in the future. So that is really what this is getting. And this is not new for Tellurian, right? They had this concept a couple years ago before the pandemic hit, and they had other pipelines proposed. I don't know if some folks haven't been following the company quite as long aren't aware. They had these other pipelines proposed. They had this pipeline. So this is from an old investor presentation from 3 or so years ago. Driftwood LNG, the terminals down here. And here's the Driftwood pipeline. they have this proposal for, this connector up here that would go into the Haynesville, and then this huge pipeline over here that would, the Permian Global Access Pipeline, that would connect to the gas in the Permian Basin. And so that, this is not a new concept for Tellurian. And at the time, they were more vocal about saying, look, we're going to source from wherever we can get the cheapest gas, because that is going to let us be a low-cost producer. And this is literally our company's strategy, is to make sure that we can be one of the lowest cost producers, so that when we are selling at the, international prices that everyone else is also selling at, that we know we are going to be, lower on the cost side, which is going to give us a structural advantage to make those, make profits on the margin there. So that is why this pipeline is important for Tellurian. There are a couple details if you, still care more about the pipeline. In the FERC order, it talks about the total cost, and the total cost for this pipeline is going to be $1.5 billion. And they also, this is one tiny additional bit of benefit for the company, is, they can ship other folks gas through this pipeline. And in the initial, they held a binding open season for this pipeline to see, hey, who's going to use the pipeline. Unsurprisingly, Driftwood LNG is Driftwood LNG is the foundational shipper. So they said, hey, we want 5 decatherms per day, which is I think 5 million decatherms per day, and I think 1 million decatherms per day comes out to about a BCF per day. So roughly 5 BCF per day of capacity that they are keeping for themselves on this pipeline. But they did contract out a small bit, 100,000 decatherms per day, which would be about 0.1 BCF per day, to 2 different subsidiaries of Entergy Management LLC and Entergy Louisiana LLC. So they have 200,000 decatherms per day contracted out to other companies. And so this is going to bring in a small amount of additional cash flow. Not that much. They do talk about what the rates are for actually shipping gas through this pipeline. It's further down in the document. It's not going to amount to much. I think I ran the math, and if I understood correctly, it's going to come out to about $12 million per year in revenue for this 200,000 decatherms per day that they have currently contracted. But this is something that in the future gives them that option, once they have this pipeline present. So one other thing, they are constructing this in phases. It talks about this up here on page 3. They have phase 1, that is line 200 in its entirety. And so if we go back to this map, you can see line 200 is the blue here. Line 300 is the green. And so phase 1 of the project for the pipeline specifically is line 200. And then some bits of line 300, probably the ones that make sense to do all kind of as one chunk of work. And then there's a phase 2 that is basically the rest of line 300. They expect phase 1 to be done and for, line 200 to be in service in 2024. I think that's the back half of 2024. Although, we'll see. And then the remainder they expect, I think, to be in service. This says here in the available for service in the second quarter of 2026. And then there's some bit that they're doing even at the very, very end, I think maybe after their phase 2, that would be in service in late 2023. So that is the timeline here. Now, the one big question that I think is unanswered from the company's perspective is, how are they going to pay for this, right? I'm actually not sure if this is part of the financing package that they're trying to put together, for Driftwood to start with, for Driftwood phase 1. Clearly, they are wanting the money for this quickly if they're going to get it in service in 2024, at least for what they were telling FERC. It's hard to say. The company hasn't really come out and said too much about this, and hopefully they do, right? I could speculate, but I'm just not sure. It doesn't seem like this is a part of the original Driftwood plan, so it's hard to say, but we'll see. Maybe they'll give some. I'm hoping that they give some insight into this, when they have their press release from their Q1 earnings. It should be coming out probably in the next month sometime. It's hard to say. But that's my hope, that we will actually hear something about this, because so far the company hasn't said too much about the line 200, 300. So, all right, that is everything I had for today. Not too much to say about it. Obviously, I guess I had 10 minutes worth of stuff to say about it, but that's basically everything that I know. You know, I sourced most of my information from this FERC order and I read over the environmental impact statement, a couple of the things that they had. Please, you know, I guess in closing, I'll say I am not an industry insider, and some of this stuff I was just doing my own research on. So, you know, if I got something wrong, please let me know in the comment section below. I would, you know, love to know that. I would love to be corrected. Otherwise, that is all I have for today, and I'm gonna hop off. I see, you know, I saw the transient stacker was on the stream. I don't know if there's anybody else, if he's still here, or he or she. Sorry, I'm not sure. I don't know if there's anybody else still on the stream. So I'll give it just a second. Otherwise, I'm gonna hop off. Well, yeah, I'm not seeing anything. So thank you very much for watching, for everybody who's stuck around this long. Appreciate it, and have a good one.